being almost like having done some work for us that we now can use as a platform to build a network that's not as top down as an ISP like Earthlink, but is also a little bit less chaotic and a little bit more planned and centralized. Um, and I am speaking fast here. I do want to respect all your time. Um, so we have this great collaboration with the city. Mayors and technology advisors over here. We have resources from the city, assets from the city. Brian alluded to fiber optic links and building tops. We have the ability to work with universities and to work with corporations. We have a little bit more standardization in terms of the hardware that we're going to be using. So, we're certainly more than happy to work with you to use the hardware that you want if you're, some geek out living in Fenway or Mission Hill. But we've really got a set that we've got running now, and that means that we can build something that's really seamless, that we can hand you a box that you can plug in your window and it will work. So the thing that we're really borrowing from Aaron is, we have a very small paid staff, which is essentially myself and Aaron. Even Brian here isn't getting paid.
I'm not.
At the moment, excuse me. But we really need a really great base of volunteers who can do technology work, who can do marketing work, who can do fundraising work, who can do all sorts of different things. And we think that by having a little bit more, I hate to say this because it sounds like an insult to Aaron, but it's not, professionalized. He's very professional, but professional in a different way, centralized approach. We can really hit some goals that have not necessarily been the focus of the geek-centric networks in Europe, as wonderful as they are. And those goals are really digital inclusion, taking these neighborhoods where adoption rates of broadband are so low and offering this free solution combined with low-cost computers, combined with training, working with the infrastructure that's been in place in these neighborhoods, computer centers that are offering great training programs already. And we think that the result is a program that's really going to enable people to become a new generation of technology users. Now, Comcast and Verizon may not see this. They may be too short-sighted to understand this. But we really think that somebody who's using a wireless network, who's got the free connection, gets the low-cost computer, they're going to get hooked on that. And they may go out and buy a brand new computer. And they may go out and say, this wireless connection, I can't download all the movies, that I want 24 hours a day on this. It's just not enough for me, for my gigs and gigs of traffic. So I'm going to go out and get a Comcast connection. We saw from that previous slide that 50% of the people who do not have broadband do not see it as relevant of the households in Boston. And I think it was 47% saw it as too expensive. So of that 90, we can address that 97%. Those people who may have that wire line to their house, but it's either too expensive or it's not relevant. We can make it relevant and we can make it free. And that's something we really hope that the ISPs will see the value of. As you all know, Comcast and Verizon are not the most enlightened companies. So. I'm sorry?
When they say not relevant, what specifically do they mean?
Well, I think that if you're someone who's working in a service job, who's living in housing development, you may not have a lot of experience on the internet, or with computers. You may not be using it in your job, and you may not, you may not know much about using the internet to access government services, using the internet to access distance learning, using the internet for fun, for YouTube. So I think that a lot of that not relevant just comes from, it's not something that I use in my daily life. And if $50 a month is a big expense, why should I shell that out if I don't really have, if I have only this sort of vague notion that maybe it's something that my kids will enjoy. Yeah.
What prevents you from combining your approach I know a bit about with the focusing in Europe and also setting it up so that the mesh network can expand
organically.
through hands-on people taking initiative to take an old access point and put it up on the roof.
Yeah, I think maybe I didn't really say that very clearly. I guess I was sort of alluding to that is something that we really want to do as well. But we sort of have this focus that we have an area that we want to build out. But there are people. Steve Ronan here has built networks in housing developments all over the city, and we want to sort of encompass those networks.
Yeah, but I think that the absolute answer is positively. In fact, as soon as we can, we'll put an area up on the website where people can buy 2 access points and give one to a friend, and we absolutely want it to grow organically by the community.
Yeah, please.
I will speak inadequately for Esther Hargitay, who unfortunately isn't here today, but that would be interesting. She's a fellow at the center, and she's on faculty at Northwestern, where she, in particular, is a sociologist who studies the skill sets, what keeps people from moving on to the net, and in particular the skill sets. So, when you say training, what sort of training? Is it the sort of basic skills, or is it also training that will get people to appreciate what there is on the net, get them over it doesn't matter?
Our funding from, this is a wonderful way for me to plug our funder here. Our funder is Timothy Smith Network, and they've offered $100,000 to do a network in Fenway and Mission Hill. Our funder has developed a set of curricula that we've used that's a number of different lessons that are just incredibly practical 2-page lessons. So for things like, how do you look up a flight at arrival at Logan Airport? How do you apply for food stamps? How do you figure out the Massachusetts health insurance requirements? How do you do things that you might have had to go to an office and wait all day to do? How do you do those online? Very, very simple, practical stuff.
I mean, things that people actually like doing.
Yeah,
Like
that's stuff that we have not put into lessons yet. That I think that that's another real key component because, people talk about these networks. We can use these networks to do distance learning and healthcare and etc. But if somebody uses MySpace, they may get hooked on MySpace. They're not necessarily going to look at a manual for how to do healthcare online. But if they learn how to use MySpace and they get hooked on it, maybe it'll be just so easy for them to Google search for health information that it'll just become part of their routine. In a sense, that a training program that's designed to just do a lesson about healthcare may not offer. I don't know if I expressed that quite as clearly as I intended.
Could interrupt with
Please.
two other quick things. And Colin and I talked about Esther's a visiting professor, I guess, right? And another one of our partners is the Technology Goes Home program. And so if you look at families with their school-age kid doing project-based learning to help them understand how they and a family can grow together and use the network to benefit, that's I think huge and wonderful program. And I love the idea that grows into wonderful breadth of curriculum around things from internet safety and security, talking about MySpace, to things like how one might produce videos for YouTube or seed the community cable networks for video programming. So I think there's wonderful opportunities with a number of different partners to try to see where the relevant programs are. And actually, I think that's something really studyable because the real answer is we don't know 100% of
That's
the answer.
exactly what Esther has been studying. So
Yeah.
He's very, very interested in reading her.
We absolutely want to do that.
What's the vision for